Historical data suggests people here received less key cancer treatment than people living in comparable countries. The findings come from two major international studies co-funded by Cancer Research UK. Fewer patients in Scotland received chemotherapy between 2012 and 2017. Just over 29% of patients had the treatment here. Now that's compared to 39% in Norway.
Scottish cancer patients also faced longer waits to start chemotherapy up to 2017, on average 65 days. That's over a fortnight longer than England and nearly twice as long as Norway. Cancer Research UK says it's the latest data available for international comparison. But since it only goes as far as 2017, we asked Dr. Saoirse Hume what it tells us about the situation in Scotland today.
Sadly, although it's disappointing, it's not surprising, because we've known for some time that in Scotland we're lagging behind other countries in the world in terms of cancer outcomes. But what this study, the kind of first of its kind at this level and this size, is telling us, it's giving us a clue as to why Scotland is lagging behind other countries. So it's telling us that Scottish cancer patients are receiving less treatment in terms of chemotherapy and radiotherapy, and that they're generally waiting longer for that treatment.
How concerning is that?
I mean, I think it is quite alarming, and I understand that the public will be potentially quite concerned about hearing this. But I guess it's important to say this is part of the jigsaw puzzle in terms of understanding why we are kind of lagging behind other countries. And what it does is it gives us a mandate to actually look more deeper into some of this data and find out what's going on. And I think there's also a positive here in terms of we see other countries. In this study, we're looking at Australia, Canada, and Norway. We've got those contacts now. We can look at what are they doing that we're maybe not doing so well, that we can learn how to make improvements, because it is possible. And we've seen that in other areas where they've managed to turn the tide in terms of cancer outcomes for patients.
And this study, the data itself, it's actually more than 6 years old now. Is it still useful? Is it still a true reflection, I suppose, of what the reality is in Scotland?
Absolutely. I think it's difficult with this sort of scale. It's going to take time to kind of really interrogate kind of the richness of that data and to pull it all together. So there is unfortunately going to be some of that kind of time delay, but it gives us a picture of what was happening, at that stage. And also we haven't really seen evidence that things will have got any better from that point. There's more pressures on the system than ever. There's more patients being diagnosed with cancer. Treatments become increasingly complex. So, I think it's very much relevant, but it also highlights that it shouldn't take us that long to be able to get that level of data. We want to be sharing more data internationally as quickly as possible, so that we can have more kind of real-time data and learn what's happening kind of here and now.
And you were speaking about Scotland lagging behind other countries. What are those other countries doing that's so different to how we treat cancer in this country?
Well, that's essentially the question we need to ask next, I think, is what is it they're doing differently? And it's important to look at, the countries that we've compared with through this study are, they've got public healthcare as well. So that's essentially kind of, I think, what we would like to see happen next is what is it that they're doing differently that we can learn from to make improvements for people in Scotland.
Do you think the situation has improved since 2017?
It's difficult to say, because we don't have the data, for now that we did from that time ago. But, what we're seeing and what we can measure and what we do see, the Scottish Government does tell us, every 3 months, how many kind of waiting time standards we're hitting in each of the health boards in Scotland, and we're still not meeting those standards, after all of these service improvements. And obviously, we had COVID right bang in the middle of that period as well. So there are lots of challenges for the health system and the Scottish Government. But I think what's promising is we've got a new cancer strategy that was published just in the summer last year, and that's a 10-year strategy, which, what we've seen that other countries have done is generally, if they have a long-term ambitious cancer strategy and sufficient funding, they can actually make a change in terms of cancer outcomes. So, it's not all bad news. I think we're looking at potentially making a difference there.
OK, we'll have to leave it there. Dr. Saoirse Hume from Cancer Research UK, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, in response to that data from Cancer Research UK, the Scottish Government said the NHS in Scotland is now treating almost 50% more patients on the 62-day cancer pathway than 10 years ago, and added that treating cancer is a national priority.